On the 7th of March 2026, the sky turned red, the blood moon appeared, and for a few mysterious hours the entire world watched in silence. But according to ancient prophecies, the real meaning of the blood moon was never about the eclipse itself, it was about what happens after it disappears. For thousands of years, prophets and ancient civilizations warned that when the moon turns the color of blood, it marks the beginning of a powerful shift in human history. Hidden truths begin to surface, forgotten knowledge returns, and humanity slowly enters a new chapter. Now that the blood moon has passed, many people are asking a chilling question: are the ancient prophecies finally starting to come true? Tonight, we're going to explore 7 mysterious predictions written centuries ago, predictions that some believe are unfolding right now. The night of the blood moon has passed, but what comes after may be even more mysterious. Across history, many ancient cultures believed that a blood moon was never the end of a sign, it was only the beginning. The deep red color that covers the moon during a total lunar eclipse has always captured human attention. For thousands of years, people looked up at the sky during these rare moments and felt that something bigger was happening, something beyond simple astronomy. Now, after the blood moon of the 7th of March 2026, many are asking a powerful question. Are ancient prophecies finally starting to come true? For thousands of years, prophets, spiritual teachers, and ancient civilizations wrote about strange signs in the heaven. They believed that the sky was like a giant message board, a place where the universe, or even God, could send signals to humanity. When the moon turns red, it feels unnatural and powerful at the same time. Ancient observers had no scientific explanation for it, yet they recorded it again and again in texts, carvings, and sacred stories. And surprisingly, many of those writings describe events that sound eerily similar to what people are experiencing in the modern world today. One of the oldest prophecies connected to a blood moon comes from ancient Middle Eastern writings. These texts described a time when the moon would appear like blood before a great period of transformation for humanity. The prophecy did not describe the event as pure destruction, but rather as a moment of awakening. According to these ancient words, when the moon turns red, hidden truths begin to rise to the surface. Secrets that were buried for years slowly reveal themselves. People begin questioning systems, traditions, and beliefs that once seemed permanent. Another prophecy comes from ancient Asian manuscripts that spoke about the red moon of change. According to those texts, after such an eclipse, the world would begin moving through a phase where old structures slowly crumble while new ideas begin to grow. It would be a confusing time for many people because the future would feel uncertain, but the prophecy suggested that this uncertainty was necessary for a greater transformation. The blood moon was described as a cosmic signal that humanity had reached a turning point. When we look around today, many people feel that the world is indeed going through a period of massive change. Technology is evolving faster than ever before. Societies are shifting. Old systems are being challenged. New voices are rising everywhere. For some people, these changes feel exciting. For others, they feel frightening. But what makes the blood moon prophecy fascinating is that ancient observers seem to predict a time when humanity would experience exactly this kind of transition. Another ancient prophecy often connected to blood moons comes from early European texts that described the crimson moon before the awakening. According to this prophecy, there would come a time when people across the world would start searching for deeper meaning in their lives. Material success alone would no longer satisfy them. Instead, many would begin asking bigger questions. Why are we here? What is our purpose? What lies beyond the visible world? Interestingly, this prediction seems to match a growing trend today. More and more people are exploring spirituality, meditation, philosophy, and ancient wisdom. They are looking beyond surface-level explanations and trying to understand the deeper nature of reality. Some believe that this shift in awareness could be part of the transformation those ancient prophets described. There is also a prophecy found in old indigenous traditions that speaks about a red moon appearing before humanity reconnects with nature. According to this tradition, there would be a time when people would realize that the balance between humans and the earth had been disturbed. After the sign of the red moon, communities would begin rediscovering the importance of protecting the planet and living in harmony with the natural world. In recent years, we have seen a huge global conversation about climate, sustainability, and the future of our planet. Scientists, activists, and ordinary people are all discussing how humanity can protect Earth for future generations. Some spiritual thinkers believe this growing awareness may reflect the fulfillment of that ancient prophecy. Another mysterious prophecy linked to blood moons talks about the rise of hidden knowledge. Ancient philosophers believed that during certain cosmic alignments, Information that was once lost would be rediscovered. Ideas buried in forgotten libraries, ancient ruins, or old manuscripts would suddenly become important again. According to this prophecy, humanity would begin reconnecting with wisdom that had been ignored for centuries. In many ways, we are already seeing this happen. Researchers are translating ancient texts, archaeologists are uncovering lost civilizations, and historians are rediscovering knowledge that had been forgotten. Even ideas from ancient philosophy and spiritual traditions are becoming popular again in modern discussions. One of the most mysterious prophecies describes the blood moon as a moment when humanity stands between two possible futures. The prophecy says that after the red moon appears, the choices people make will shape the direction of the world for generations to come. It suggests that this is not a time to be passive or asleep. Instead, it is a moment when awareness, compassion, and wisdom become more important than ever. Of course, skeptics argue that prophecies are simply symbolic stories. They believe that people naturally connect ancient predictions to modern events because humans are always searching for meaning. And there is truth in that perspective as well. Science clearly explains why blood moons happen. A total lunar eclipse occurs when Earth moves directly between the sun and the moon, casting a shadow that makes the moon appear red. There is nothing supernatural about the process itself. Yet even with scientific explanations, the emotional impact of a blood moon remains powerful. When people see the moon glowing deep red in the sky, it creates a feeling that is difficult to describe. It reminds us how small we are in the vast universe. It reminds us that the sky above us has been watched by countless generations before us, and it reminds us that humanity has always searched for meaning in the stars. So, after the blood moon of the 7th of March 2026, are ancient prophecies truly coming true? The honest answer may be more complex than a simple yes or no. Prophecies often speak in symbols rather than exact events. They describe patterns, transformations, and shifts in human consciousness rather than specific dates or actions. What is undeniable, however, is that we are living in a time of incredible change. Technology, culture, science, and spirituality are all evolving rapidly. The world today is very different from the world of just a few decades ago, and for many people, that change feels like standing at the edge of a new chapter in human history. Perhaps the true meaning of the blood moon prophecies is not about predicting disasters or miracles. Perhaps they are reminders. Reminders that humanity goes through cycles of darkness and light. Reminders that every generation faces moments where the future is uncertain. And reminders that during those moments, our choices matter more than ever. The ancient prophets may not have been trying to scare people. Instead, they may have been encouraging humanity to stay aware, stay curious, and stay connected to something greater than ourselves. The blood moon in the sky becomes a symbol, a cosmic signal, asking us to reflect on who we are and where we are going. As the red glow of the blood moon slowly fades from the night sky, many people return to their normal lives. The world looks the same. The streets are still busy, the cities still shine with lights, and daily routines continue just as they did before. But for those who pay close attention to ancient teachings and cosmic signs, the story does not end when the eclipse ends. In fact, according to many ancient traditions, the real meaning of a blood moon begins only after it disappears. Ancient prophets often described eclipses as a kind of doorway, not a physical doorway, but a symbolic one, a moment when humanity steps from one phase of time into another. They believe that when the moon turns red, it marks the closing of an old chapter and the opening of something new. And according to those writings, the days and weeks that follow the blood moon are when the deeper changes begin to unfold. There is an ancient belief found in several early civilizations that after a blood moon, the world enters a period of heightened awareness. People begin to notice things they once ignored. Hidden patterns become clearer. Situations that once seemed confusing suddenly start to make sense. It is as if a veil slowly lifts from human perception. Some spiritual traditions say that during this time, people may feel unusual emotions or strong inner reflections. Old memories might return. Questions about life, purpose, and direction may become stronger than usual. Ancient teachers believed this was not coincident, but part of a natural cycle of awakening. They described it as a time when humanity is gently pushed to reconsider its path. Another ancient prophecy describes the period after the red moon as the time of revealing. According to that prophecy, truths that were hidden for long periods begin to surface, not necessarily in dramatic ways, but slowly and steadily. Secrets within societies, institutions, and even within individuals may begin to come into the light. Throughout history, moments of major social change have often been connected by storytellers to celestial events. Whether or not the sky truly causes those changes is still debated, but the symbolism has remained powerful. When the moon turns red, people instinctively feel that something significant is happening in the greater story of humanity. One prophecy, recorded in very old writings from ancient desert civilizations, speaks about a period of confusion following a blood moon. According to the prophecy, during this time, people may feel divided between fear and hope. Some will focus on uncertainty and chaos, while others will see opportunity for growth and transformation. The prophecy explains that this division is natural, because every turning point in history creates both anxiety and possibility. If we look at the world today, many people would agree that humanity is standing in such a moment. New technologies are changing how people communicate, work, and live. Artificial intelligence, space exploration, and global connectivity are reshaping society in ways that previous generations could hardly imagine. At the same time, these rapid changes create questions about the future. What kind of world will the next generation inherit? What values will guide humanity moving forward? Ancient prophets often suggested that these moments of uncertainty are when human character is truly tested. When the path ahead is clear, it is easy to follow. But when the future becomes uncertain, individuals and societies must decide what kind of choices they will make. Another fascinating prophecy connected to blood moon speaks about the awakening of curiosity. According to this ancient idea, after the red moon appears, humanity begins searching more deeply for knowledge. People start questioning old assumptions and exploring new ideas. In many ways, this process leads to scientific discoveries, philosophical breakthroughs, and spiritual exploration. History shows that many of the greatest periods of human progress came during times when people were willing to challenge what they thought they already knew. Curiosity has always been one of the most powerful forces in human history. It pushes explorers to cross oceans, scientists to study the stars, and thinkers to question the nature of reality itself. Some ancient traditions even describe the time after a blood moon as a quiet preparation period. They believe that large transformations do not happen instantly. Instead, they begin quietly, beneath the surface, like seeds growing underground before they finally break through the soil. This idea suggests that the true meaning of the 7th of March 2026 blood moon may not be visible immediately. The effects, if they exist, might unfold slowly over months or even years. Changes in culture, knowledge, and awareness often take time to fully appear. There is also an interesting prophecy that speaks about unity. According to some ancient teachings, moments of cosmic alignment remind humanity that everyone on Earth shares the same sky. No matter what language people speak or what country they live in, everyone sees the same moon rise above the horizon. The prophecy suggests that during times marked by celestial signs, humanity is reminded of its shared destiny. This idea becomes even more meaningful in the modern world. Today, people across the globe can witness astronomical events together through technology, live streams, and social media. Millions of people watch the blood moon eclipse from different continents at the same time. For a brief moment, the entire world looked up at the same sky. Perhaps this shared experience carries its own quiet message. It reminds us that humanity is more connected than ever before. The challenges of the future, whether they involve technology, environment, or society, will likely require cooperation between nations and cultures. Another ancient prophecy speaks about personal transformation after the red moon fades. According to this teaching, the cosmic sign is not meant to predict external events alone. Instead, it invites individuals to look inward. The prophecy says that when the sky shows a rare sign, people should pause and reflect on their own lives. These questions may sound simple, but throughout history, many spiritual traditions have emphasized that true change in the world often begins with change within individuals. The blood moon, in this sense, becomes less about predicting the future and more about inspiring reflection. It encourages people to step outside their daily routines for a moment and consider the bigger picture of existence. And perhaps that is why the symbol of the red moon has survived in human stories for thousands of years. Long before modern science explained eclipses, ancient observers understood something important about the human mind. When people see something rare and powerful in the sky, it naturally pushes them to think about their place in the universe. Even today, with all our scientific knowledge, that feeling has not disappeared. When the moon turns red, millions of people stop what they are doing and look up. In that moment, the endless noise of daily life becomes quiet for a few seconds. If the ancient prophets were truly trying to send a warning through their writings, then the message hidden behind the symbol of the blood moon may be far deeper than most people realize. For centuries, these stories were passed down through generations, preserved in scrolls, carvings, and sacred traditions. Many people believed they were simply myths meant to explain the unknown, but others believe these messages were carefully recorded observations about the cycles of human history. According to some of the oldest interpretations, the red moon was never meant to be seen as a sign of fear alone. Instead, it represented a moment when humanity was being asked to wake up and pay attention. The prophets believed that civilizations often become distracted by comfort, power, and routine. Over time, people stop questioning the direction their world is moving in. They stop looking at the bigger picture. But every once in a while, something unusual appears in the sky, something that reminds humanity that the universe is far larger and more mysterious than everyday life. When that moment comes, it creates a pause in human attention. People stop and look up. They begin asking questions again. Some ancient texts describe this moment as the awakening between shadows. According to these writings, humanity periodically reaches crossroads in its journey. At those crossroads, the choices made by societies and individuals determine the direction of the future. The blood moon was described as one of the signals marking those crossroads. Many prophets believed that when such signs appear, people begin feeling a subtle shift inside themselves. Some feel a desire to change their lives. Others begin questioning systems they once trusted completely. Still, others feel a growing curiosity about the deeper meaning of existence. These internal changes may seem small at first, but over time they can influence the direction of entire cultures. There is another mysterious prophecy found in ancient philosophical writings that speaks about the return of forgotten wisdom. According to this prophecy, there would come a time when humanity becomes so advanced technologically that it risks losing its connection with deeper wisdom. Knowledge would grow rapidly, but understanding might struggle to keep up. In that moment, the prophecy says people would begin rediscovering old teachings that had been overlooked for centuries. Ancient philosophies about balance, compassion, and harmony would once again become important. The red moon in this story appears just before that rediscovery begins. When we look at modern conversations around the world, this idea becomes surprisingly interesting. Even in an age of incredible technological progress, many people are turning toward ancient ideas about mindfulness, balance, and inner awareness. Philosophies that were once considered outdated are now being studied again by scientists, psychologists, and spiritual thinkers. Another prophecy connected to the blood moon describes a period when humanity begins to understand how connected everything truly is. In ancient times, this idea was difficult to explain, but today it has become clearer through science. The planet's ecosystems, global climate, technology networks, and human societies are all deeply interconnected. What happens in one part of the world can affect people thousands of miles away. Ancient prophets may not have had modern scientific language, but many of them seem to understand that humanity's actions were tied together in ways people often failed to recognize. According to the prophecy, the red moon appears as a reminder that the choices made today will echo far into the future. There is also a fascinating legend recorded in certain ancient traditions that speaks about the watchers of the sky. These were observers who spent their lives studying the movements of stars, planets, and eclipses. They believed that the sky was not random chaos but a series of repeating patterns that reflected cycles in human history. These watchers noticed that many major turning points in civilizations seemed to occur during periods when unusual celestial events were happening. While modern science does not confirm a direct connection, the symbolism became deeply rooted in human storytelling. The watchers believed that when people ignored the lessons of history, similar challenges would eventually return. But when societies learned from past mistakes, they could guide their future in a wiser direction. In many ways, that message feels especially relevant today. Humanity now possesses knowledge and technology more powerful than anything previous generations ever imagined. At the same time, this power brings enormous responsibility. The decisions made in the coming decades will shape the future of the planet and the direction of civilization. Perhaps this is why the symbol of the blood moon continues to capture human imagination even in the modern age. It acts as a reminder that progress alone does not guarantee wisdom. True advancement requires awareness, reflection, and careful choices. Another ancient story connected to red moons speaks about the balance between darkness and light. The eclipse itself is a perfect symbol of this idea. For a short time, the Earth's shadow covers the moon completely, turning it a deep red color. Darkness seems to dominate the sky, but the shadow never lasts forever. Slowly, the light returns, the moon brightens again, and the sky returns to normal. Ancient storytellers often use this image to represent the cycles of human history. Periods of uncertainty or struggle eventually give way to renewal and clarity. In this way, the blood moon was not just a warning, it was also a symbol of hope. It reminded people that even when the world appears uncertain or chaotic, transformation is always possible. Just as the moon emerges from Earth's shadow, humanity also has the ability to move beyond its challenges and create a brighter future. Now that the blood moon of the 7th of March 2026 has passed, the sky looks ordinary again. The red glow is gone. The stars continue their quiet movements across the night. And if the future is truly being written by the choices humanity makes today, then the meaning of the blood moon becomes even more powerful, because the ancient prophets were not only watching the sky, they were also watching human behavior. They studied how civilizations rise, how they fall, and how certain patterns repeat themselves across generations. In many old writings, there is a quiet warning hidden behind the symbol of the red moon. The prophets believed that when humanity reaches a moment of great advancement, it also reaches a moment of great responsibility. Knowledge grows, power increases, and the ability to shape the future becomes stronger than ever before. But at the same time, the risk of making mistakes also grows. According to these ancient observers, civilizations often reach a point where they must decide what kind of world they want to create. Will progress be guided by wisdom and compassion, or by greed and conflict? Will knowledge be used to build a better future, or will it create deeper divisions among people? The blood moon, in their view, appeared during times when humanity stood on that delicate edge between two very different paths. Another prophecy describes this moment as the test of awareness. It says that during certain cycles of time, humanity becomes so focused on speed and progress that it forgets to slow down and reflect. People move quickly from one achievement to another without asking the deeper questions about purpose and direction. But when the red moon rises, the prophecy says it acts like a mirror held up to humanity. It reflects the state of the world back to itself. Suddenly, people begin noticing problems that were once ignored. Social tensions become more visible. Questions about truth, trust, and leadership become louder. Some ancient philosophers believed that these moments of reflection were actually necessary for growth. Without them, civilizations might continue moving in harmful directions without realizing it. The appearance of rare celestial events reminded people that life on Earth is part of a much larger cosmic story. There is also a fascinating legend from ancient storytellers that speaks about the generation of the turning point. According to this legend, every few centuries there comes a generation that lives during a time of massive change. That generation may not realize it at first, but the decisions they make will influence the world far beyond their own lifetime. The legend says this generation often feels a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. They witness new inventions, new ideas, and new ways of thinking that previous generations never experienced. But along with these opportunities come difficult questions about ethics, responsibility, and the direction of progress. Many people today feel that they are living in such a time. Artificial intelligence is advancing rapidly. Space exploration is expanding beyond Earth. Global communication connects billions of people instantly. These developments create incredible possibilities, but they also require careful thought about how humanity will use them. In this context, the ancient prophecies about the blood moon begin to sound less like mystical predictions and more like timeless observations about human history. Another prophecy speaks about the rediscovery of human unity. It suggests that during moments marked by cosmic signs, humanity begins realizing that divisions between cultures, nations, and beliefs are smaller than they once seemed. When people look up at the same sky and witness the same celestial events, it becomes harder to ignore the shared experience of being human. The red moon shines over every continent. It appears above every ocean. No border or wall can stop its light from reaching people around the world. In that sense, it becomes a universal reminder that humanity lives on one small planet beneath one vast universe. Some ancient thinkers believed that this realization would slowly push humanity toward greater cooperation. Not immediately and not without challenges, but gradually over time. They believed the future would require people to think beyond individual groups and begin considering the well-being of the entire planet. Of course, prophecies are often symbolic. They do not always describe events in literal ways. Instead, they use powerful imagery to express deeper truths about human nature and history. The blood moon may simply be one of those symbols, a moment when nature itself creates a dramatic reminder that the universe is constantly moving through cycles of shadow and light. Ancient storytellers often used this image to explain the cycles of human experience. Periods of uncertainty eventually give way to clarity. Times of challenge eventually create opportunities for growth. Darkness, they believed, is never permanent. Now that the blood moon of the 7th of March 2026 has come and gone, the world continues moving forward just as it always has. But the ancient question still echoes through history. Was the red moon simply a beautiful astronomical event that fascinated our ancestors? Or was it something more, a symbolic reminder that humanity periodically reaches moments when the future direction of civilization is still undecided? Perhaps the most interesting part of these prophecies is not whether they predict specific events. The real mystery is how they encourage people to think about their role in shaping the future. Because every generation eventually faces a moment when the world begins to change faster than anyone expected. And when that moment arrives, people must decide whether they will simply watch history unfold or whether they will actively help shape what comes next. The ancient prophets may have looked at the red moon and wondered about the future of humanity, but today, for the first time in history, humanity has the knowledge and the power to influence that future more directly than ever before. Which means the real prophecy may not be written in the stars at all. And now the blood moon has faded, the sky has returned to normal, and life continues just as it always has. But if the ancient prophets were right, the red moon was never the end of the sign. It was only the beginning. Because throughout history, the most important changes in the world never started with loud announcements. They began quietly, with new ideas, new questions, and people slowly waking up to the moment they were living in. So the real question isn't whether the prophecies are coming true. The real question is what humanity will choose to do next. Because if the watchers of the sky were right about one thing, it's this: the future is not written in the stars. It's written in the choices we make starting right now.